It just gets worse and worse and worse. Let's keep going.
Terrible. And what we've had is, back in January, I wrote an article back, I think, the 27th of January, said this pandemic's here. We should act. Every other country that was acted around the time, got the notice around the time we did, they have considerably fewer deaths as a percent of the population. I'm the guy that said we ought to take hard records and find out exactly how many people in the Black community are getting COVID and are dying from it. And look what's happened. Now everybody's going, oh, surprise, surprise. Look, everybody knows this. We have to come back. We have to fight back. And, the crisis is laying bare the institutional racism that's still prevalent in our society. And I believe we have to address it by transforming our economy, and this time bringing everybody along. And we haven't, look, he started to undermine the pillars of his economy before. Look, the blinders, Charlamagne, in my view, have been taken off. Okay. Now people recognize that those essential workers, a disproportionate amount of them are African Americans, and they're breaking their necks, risking their lives, losing their lives. They're grocery store workers, they're bus drivers, they're delivery people, they're the people who are on the line. They're the healthcare workers who are in a position where they're taking care of the nurses. I mean, and they're making basically the minimum wage. So this time when we come back, we had not only move this along, we not only rebuild, but we have to transform this economy. We can create millions of new jobs in transportation, energy structure. There's jobs, a job is a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about how you're treated. And that's how we built from the working class to the middle class. But this time we have to address the institutional racism. We've seen it more clearly now. In a Black majority county, they're 6 times more likely to die in a pandemic than a white county.
So if I'm Charlamagne, I can't get in the man's head, but judging by his face, it's kind of hard to interview someone if you can't understand what the hell they're saying. Joe Biden was slurring at points, babbling at points, and can't make a point, can't finish sentences or thoughts. He just says, look at it, look. Come on, man. Look it. I'm not mocking him. I'm just telling you what's very visual on screen. For a few things. Number one, Joe Biden is very good at talking about what Trump is doing wrong or what he has done wrong. But what he would actually have done, you get no specifics. That's what the Democratic Party is. Trump is the Antichrist. Trump is doing everything wrong, which, by the way, I agree. This is not a defense of Donald Trump. I would love to see Donald Trump defeated. But this guy ain't going to do it. I can tell you that. It's just not going to happen with Joe Biden. He doesn't make sense. All he does is blast Trump without saying what he would actually do. And frankly, Charlamagne is not like a journalist. So I would have challenged him, right, but you're talking about all the structural inequities and the institutional racism and the barriers to Black people. You put a lot of those barriers in there, Joe Biden. It's not just the crime bill. You, with the bankruptcy bill that hurt people's single mothers, disproportionately African American, by the way, ability to declare bankruptcy. You, by the way, pushed to repeal Glass-Steagall. Repealing Glass-Steagall led to the 2008 financial crash. Guess who was disproportionately harmed by the 2008 financial crash? That would be African Americans who were foreclosed on more than white people. I mean, the list goes on. The Iraq War. Bernie Sanders never got into this. A lot of young Black men went to die in that war. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. The bankruptcy bill, the Iraq War, the Patriot Act, the crime bill, Glass-Steagall, NAFTA, TPP. All of these things have harmed everybody, but have specifically harmed Black people. So he has no solutions, and he says, this time, if I'm president, this time the recovery will, Black people will lead the recovery. How? Are you going to do an FDR-like government jobs program specifically tailored to inner cities? If so, tell us. Are you going to invest actual money, not in job training? You know, the Democrats love their job training. No. Are you going to invest actual dollars for black jobs? Are you going to expand education for black people? Free public college tuition. And by the way, I think it should be for white people too, because there's a lot of poor white people too. But you're on a show, he's asking you about black issues. All you're doing is saying black people are getting hammered by this president, but he's not proposing what he would do. Let's continue.
They're disproportionately uninsured in the African American community, disproportionately make up the essential jobs that they can't do at home. They're risking their lives every day. Enough's enough. And this Biden recovery I'm going to put together will bring everybody along. We're going to build a better future, not back to what we had, but back to something better than we had.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I don't know if you saw a couple weeks ago, Sean Combs, you might know him as Diddy.
Yeah.
He said what I believe a lot of black voters, including myself, feel, and that's that Democrats take black voters for granted. Votes are quid pro quo, right? It's not like I don't want to vote. I just want to know what candidates will do for us in exchange for our votes. The same way young progressive Latinos, the LGBT community,
absolutely,
we want the same thing. Do you feel like black people are owed that from the Democratic Party?
Absolutely, Bob. What did I say? Remember when they said Biden can't win the primaries?
Yes.
I kicked everybody's out. Excuse me.
No, talk like that. I need you to say that. You did what?
No, I won overwhelmingly. I told you when I got to South Carolina, I won every single county. I won a larger share of the black vote than anybody has, including Barack. I increased the vote in Virginia overwhelmingly by 70%. Look, what people don't know about me is I come from a state that's the 8th largest black population in America. The 8th largest. I get 96% of that vote for the last 40 years. They're the folks, as they say it my way, brung me to the dance. That's how I get elected every single time. And everybody's shocked. I get overwhelming support from the black leadership, young and old. Every poll shows me way ahead. And it's not just, I hear this, oh yeah, old blacks are with Biden, but youngs aren't. Look at the polling data. Polling data, let's say it's off by half. Come on, man. Give me a little break here. This is where I come from. I got involved. I came home from college, and I had a job with a really fancy law firm out of law school. And my city is the only city in America occupied by the National Guard, the military, for 10 months when Dr. King was shot. And I had this fancy job, a kid coming from a lower middle income household. I quit and became a public defender. And I stayed in that community. I was the only guy when I was in high school. I had a job, a country club kind of job at a swimming pool. I was the only white employee in the East Side because I wanted to work in the projects, because I wanted to understand. That's how I got involved in politics. That's what this is all about for me. It's about equality. It's about dignity. It's about treating people with respect. And so, when you take a look at my record, people talk about the crime bill. Crime bill didn't increase mass incarceration. Other things increase mass incarceration. And the reason why, if you go back and look, and I know you talk about it, you go back and take a look. That's why you had the vast majority of the black caucus at the time supporting the crime bill. Almost every major city black mayor supported the crime bill because blacks were getting killed overwhelmingly as well. And what happened when that crime bill? It had 4 or 5 really important things. It had the Violence Against Women Act. It said drug courts, don't send anybody who has a drug problem to jail, send them to rehabilitation, to a drug court. It had in it, they had the assault weapons ban, getting rid of assault weapons, getting rid of the number of rounds you could have in a gun. It also had in it a whole range of other things, but had things I didn't like. Clinton wanted to put in a deal where, in fact, 3 strikes and you're out. I opposed that 3 strikes and you're out bill. I oppose the position taken that saying that you're going to have any mandatory sentences. But on balance, the whole bill, what happened was it did, in fact, bring down violent crime in black communities as well. And guess what? the fact is, prison population didn't increase. 94% of every prisoner in jail is in a state prison, not a federal prison. No federal law. And here's the deal. The one thing I opposed in that bill was people wanting to give money to state prisons to build more prisons. I opposed it. But the point was, on balance, everything from the assault women's ban to the violence against women ban to the drug courts, they were important. And now look what we can do. Look.
Again, Joe Biden has been allowed to lie and lie and lie and lie and lie by the media. It's unbelievable the amount of lying this man has been enabled to do. Let me give a little quick history lesson, because he lied many times, and frankly, Charlamagne didn't call him on it. Joe Biden was 100% for mandatory minimums. He pushed it in that bill, so he's lying there. It was 100% for, and actually, it was the main incentive to get people to vote for the crime bill, of incentivizing states to create more prisons. So this talking point, oh, the majority of the prisons in America are state prisons, not federal prisons. Yeah, the crime bill, one of the cornerstones of the crime bill, was to incentivize states to build more prisons with money. This was the cornerstone of the crime bill. So Joe Biden, because he knows he could lie and reinvent history and brazenly just make things up, and the media will not call him on it. He lied about being arrested in apartheid South Africa. He lied about being on the front lines. I was leading the charge. I participated in civil rights sit-ins. He talks about Delaware as if it's Selma, Alabama. Sorry, it's not. Joe Biden palled around and worked with arch segregationist Strom Thurmond in the 1970s. I wish Bernie Sanders would have brought that up more. To stop busing. He pushed this crime bill. And by the way, this notion that the crime bill didn't usher in mass incarceration, let's talk about what mass incarceration is, first of all. The first era of mass incarceration, of course, was slavery. And then after the slaves were freed, they moved a lot of those freed slaves into prison. But in modern day mass incarceration, the numbers are the numbers. The imprisonment of black men skyrocketed because of the crime bill, majority for non-violent crimes. When Joe Biden was talking and pushing for the crime bill, he was using racist dog whistles to get the crime bill through. Racist dog whistling like this.
Take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one. There's a consensus on that. Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets.
Super Predators 2.0. Who's he talking about? Is he talking about white people that were born out of wedlock? Being raised without socialization? Born out of wedlock. That is racist dog whistling. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.